you guys, so today I've decided I am making another recipe with apples in it. I do make a lot of recipes with apples because there's just so much you can do with apples. So today I am making apple fritter cake. And there are 3 layers to this, so I'm not going to list, like I normally do, I'm not going to list all my ingredients now. I'm just going to start with doing the cake. So let's go. You hungry? So here's the ingredients you're going to need to make the cake part of it. Now, I am doubling this recipe, so if you want to just go down to a single recipe, cut everything I am going to say in half. But you want, for the cake, you want 2 eggs, 2/4 cup of sugar, half a cup of oil, half a cup of applesauce, or you can use yogurt or sour cream. I am using applesauce because that's what I have. 2 cups of flour and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So, I already have my oven preheating to 350, and what you want to do is you want to crack your eggs into the bowl. And you also want to add your oil and applesauce. Let me get a spoon to get the rest out. Try not to hit the camera. Alright, so there's my oil and applesauce. And what I am adding to this recipe is I am adding 2 tablespoons of butter. And you want to lock this down and whisk it all together. I have the whisk attachment on my KitchenAid today. I normally use the paddle, but using the whisk, it just puts air into your recipes and it makes things more fluffy. So I'm going to let this go for a few minutes and then we'll come back with the rest of the cake. So my mixture is all mixed up as much as I want, and I want to turn it down on low because I'm going to put my dry ingredients. And so I have my sugar, my flour, and my baking soda. Now you can put a little salt in here if you want, but I'm going to leave the salt out this time. So you want to add this at a little bit at a time. And when you're baking, you want to sift your dry ingredients because sifting your dry ingredients will allow it to be fluffier. Everything you bake, even your pancakes, sift your pancake flour or pancake mix. It'll make your outcome fluffier. So add this a little at a time. And you can turn it up if you want to just get it in there faster. Just don't have it too high, you're going to have flour everywhere. And you want to make this quick though because you don't want to over mix your batter. So once I have this all mixed in, I'll be back. Alright, so my mixture is all mixed in. I did have to scrape down the sides just to make sure all my flour was incorporated. So we're going to set that aside and move on to our second layer, which is the apples part of the apple fritter cake. If you have a chopper like this, I would recommend you use it. That way your apples are relatively the same size. So what I have in here is roughly 2 cups of apples, which is, I used 2 apples. One was smaller than the other, but if you want to measure, just do about 2 cups of apples. So I want to put this in the bowl. And I want to take a big tablespoon of granulated sugar and sprinkle that over the top of my apples. And also a big heaping tablespoon. Actually, Yeah, I don't want to put all that in. But a big heaping tablespoon of cinnamon. And mix that in. Now you can adjust the sugar. If you don't want to put sugar in here because of the natural sweetness of the apples, go right ahead, that's fine. Or you can just use less sugar if you want. Or more sugar if you like sugar. Alright. So there's our apple layer. Now let me go get this stuff together for our third layer. Okay, so now moving on to the third layer. This is going to be your cinnamon brown sugar. And basically it's just cinnamon and brown sugar. I have our homemade brown sugar, which we have been making lately because it's just, you know, we already have molasses on hand and we have regular sugar on hand, so it's just cheaper to make your own than have to buy brown sugar when you need it. So you're going to want a half a cup of packed brown sugar. And it is stickier if you make it yourself because of all the molasses that's in there. So you want a half a cup of brown sugar. And then you're going to want, let me use the rest of the cinnamon and then open the rest of the other one. You're going to want another big, huge heaping tablespoon of cinnamon. If you like cinnamon, which my family does, I always put a little extra in. So there you go. So there is the cinnamon. And you just mix this up. Make sure the cinnamon is thoroughly combined with the brown sugar, so you don't want just cinnamon clumps in your bread. Alright, there you go. So we have our brown sugar layer, we have our bread batter, which is the first layer, and we have our cinnamon sugar apples. So let me get a pan and put this all together. So I've gone ahead and I've pre-greased my 8x8 glass pan, and now let's start to put this together. You want to make sure you split this batter evenly, or as even as you can get it. So you want to place your half of your batter on the bottom and smooth it out with a spatula or a spoon. Make sure it gets in the corners. A little more. Then you want to grab your apples and you want to sprinkle half of your apples on top. This bread is really gooey when it's done, and it's so good. Sprinkle half of your apples. And then take half of your cinnamon and brown sugar mixture and sprinkle half of that on top of your apples and batter. It's quite messy, but if you have kids and your kids like to make a mess in the kitchen, this would be perfect. So, let me rinse my hand off real quick. So then you can guess what's coming next. You take the other half of your batter and you just cover your layers with the rest of the batter. And yes, licking the bowl is the fun part. So then you take your spatula and you move it around as even as possible. If you see brown sugar and apples, it's not a big deal. Try and get it in that corner over there. Alright. So then, you do more apples. The rest of your apples, actually. Oh, this bread is so good. And then, the rest of your brown sugar and cinnamon. There we go. Oh, it looks so good already. So then you want to pop this into your 350-degree oven, and you want to bake this for 30 minutes. It won't be done, but you want to bake it for 30 minutes. Then you want to take some aluminum foil and you want to tent the top and cook it for another 13 to 14 minutes. Covering the top keeps it from burning and browning too much on the top. So I'm going to go pop this into my oven and clean up, and we'll be back when this is all done. And of course, you cannot have an apple fritter without glaze. I'm so sorry, you guys. I thought I was filming, but apparently I wasn't. So for the glaze that you're going to put on top of your apple fritter cake, you want a cup of confectioner's sugar, and then about 3 tablespoons of milk or cream, and then you just mix it together, and it makes a glaze. Now I would suggest putting this in your fridge while you're baking your cake. That way it's more of a glaze than, you know, it's a little more sturdier than when you first make it. So I'm gonna go pop this in my fridge, and then I am gonna wait for this cake to be done. Here it is, you guys. It looks so good. And I put the glaze on so it's nice and sticky and yummy. And my oven, it took about 55 minutes. My oven always takes a little longer. So just watch the cooking time. It might be different for your oven, but a shout out to our friends over at the Bird Nest. We will be sharing this with you this weekend. So there it is, you guys. I hope you try it. It's really good and it's really gooey. So enjoy, you guys.